Hello, good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here today, very much so on Mother's Day too. It's such a powerful day. So I want to just first celebrate all the mothers in the room, all the grandmothers in the room, all of the nurturers, the caregivers in the room. And regardless of whether you are male or female, that sort of energy that you give into the world, all the single parents, all the fathers that are filling two roles, all of the folks that are with us, those that are no longer with us, we celebrate them and honor them today, and we hold them in our hearts. So happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. It's such a beautiful topic, connection. And it brings tears to my heart. I was driving here this morning, and probably a danger on the road as I was thinking about this topic, as I was tearing up. And it fills my heart. It brings me such great joy to be here with you today to speak about it. And the first thing I want to just reflect upon and discuss regarding connection is really the topic of presence. That we are, in a way, calling forth the witness within us, within each other, within this community, within the one mind, the one spirit that we all are a part of, whether we know it or not, whether we remember it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, that it is always present here with us, just like that mother energy, just like Mother Earth itself is always under our feet. And so today, let's go through and try to unravel this so complex topic, so delicious topic, so rich topic, that is connection. First, it's so easy, doesn't it seem like, when things are good, to really feel an alignment. Like, that's when it's easy. That's when everything just lines up. Your passion, your brilliance, your purpose, and your presence are all there at once. And it is a peak experience where you can just sense that all is well, that you are right where you need to be. And maybe those are rare or infrequent, or perhaps not. And perhaps I would suggest that they are more frequent than we think they are, than we acknowledge that they are. But let's look at them. What is there in that moment to teach us during those peak experiences? What is there that can shift and inform the way we handle and we remain connected when things are going off the rails a bit, when things are difficult, when things perhaps go unacknowledged by us or our community and the world around us? So the first is looking at peak experiences. I want to take a moment and just take a step back. There was a recent article about astronauts going into space and saying to themselves, I really went up there as an engineer. I was supposed to take care of the shuttle or the space station as I went up. And then as I went further and further up, I saw this green-blue dot just hanging in the void, just balanced there, so fragile, so delicate, yet at the same time so powerful and filled with life. They have a term for that in NASA. It's called the overview effect. It's taking a giant, big picture look at the world, at something, and seeing how interconnected, how interdependent, how informed and a matrix it is within itself, that everything is interconnected. And I love this topic because it brings us to the idea that all things are converging. If you just look at the sciences themselves, this idea of one formula, one understanding, one common view of the world is all coming into focus. You see this in the news and in the research. You see it as well when we speak about environmentalism now and how it is coming to the forefront. This green-blue dot now is not just seen as a resource for us to use, that Mother Earth just gets to be taken from, but how do we participate? How do we give back? How do we shepherd? So in discussing connection and in looking at the topic of connection, I was just really moved by the idea that sometimes taking a giant leap back, getting outside of what is right in front of us, seeing what is going on in the world and how interconnected it is becoming, can be a great, great sense of inspiration, of grounding beneath our feet, to let us know that we as a community, as a world, as a species, we are developing and on this upward evolutionary cycle. And I share that just because I know the climate recently has been just kind of rough for many of us. The news is all over the place. But there is also this grand sense of hope that this little green-blue dot is moving along. And it is moving along upwardly and in an evolutionary spiral. That it is for our good, and it is an expression of our good. I'm also moved by the fact that there are little practical things that we know day in and day out that connect us to each other. The air that you breathe has been breathed by 11 people, not in this lifetime before. That the air that is coming out of the plants is going to sustain about 20 million of us. So the plants in New York State alone will sustain about 20 million of us. And I share these facts not just because they're cute facts, but just because there is this web of life that is always lifting, that is always sustaining us, and that we can perhaps just keep attuned to. Keep remembering that Mother Earth is under our feet. It is always our support. It is always our sustenance. Whether we remember or not, whether we see it or not, we feel it or not. But the piece I think that is richest for opportunity for us is the places where we missed the mark in terms of connecting, where we're just not really here, where we're either checked out, we're in denial, or we are just not wanting to listen. So there's a great Zen story that cracks me up every time I hear it. There's a gentleman standing on the side of the road. Out in the distance, he sees the outlines of a horse. And then on that horse, he sees, oh, there's a man on that horse. And this thing is galloping down the road at an extremely fast pace. And the man on the side of the road decides to ask and shouts as the horse and the man passes by, "Where are you going?" And the story goes that the man on the horse shouts back, "I don't know, ask the horse." And that is such a rich parable for me in terms of how connected are we to our lives? You know, who are we in that story? And perhaps we're all of the characters in that story. We may be the man on the horse with this creature underneath us just galloping down, just going on autopilot, just doing what we think should be done, or perhaps just letting go completely and not participating, not being an active stakeholder in our own lives, not taking the power that we have for self-will and to direct and participate in and shape where we're going, what we're doing, who we are. We could also be just a horse, caught up in such a frenzy, it doesn't matter where we're going, but we're going. We're going as fast as we can, and we need to get there, but we're not sure where there really is. And that can always be cute. But I think the real lesson for me, and the one that I appreciate the most, is the witness. The person on the side of the road. And just acknowledging that witness is alive in each of us. So in the moments when we don't connect, or when we feel out of alignment, or something doesn't feel right, or there's that doubting voice, perhaps we can think, who am I right now in that story? Am I that man on the side of the road, and do I have a chance to ask myself those questions? Where am I going? How do I want to get there? Who am I in this? Am I being consciously aware of the choices that I'm making? The judgment around that witness sometimes can be, oh, that's the inner critic. The Zen teachers ask us to just take a step back and don't judge that. The question is valid. The question is a part of the path. It is a part of the journey. The question is the journey. And so, as that witness, you get a chance to shape, participate, and deeply connect by asking those questions. So my invitation, and my invitation to me as well, is just to create a safe space for that witness. They're on the side of the road for a reason. They're not in the middle of the road, right? We're not going to run them over. We're going to let them have a chance to ask that question and recognize that that question is so deeply attuned to who we are. We're asking that question because we're saying, are we in alignment? are we doing what we say and believe and know we are, even perhaps before we consciously are able to articulate it? Is that who we are? So honor the witness within, and honor the witness within each other. I find myself struggling sometimes. I'm usually better at honoring someone else's witness than my own. I can be a little judgmental and be like, oh, there goes that voice again. Or maybe the reverse is for you. Just to be aware of that and how we can create a safe space for ourselves to just remain attuned and at one. So that's the first one for me. What happens when we are that witness and the galloping horse and the man on the horse and the road we feel like we're getting trampled upon too? The second piece, and I think the great lesson of connection, is its ineffability. We're always trying to reach, or it seems to me we're trying to reach towards something perhaps ungraspable. The image of the mother comes up for me once again. When you're a child and you see the clenching of the fingers when they're newborns. And there's this amazing tenacity and strength in a newborn to really hold on. And we do it still as adults. We try to hold on very much so with that same tenacity and with strength, and even a more full-bodied strength. Now we have our full intellect, we have our self-will, we have our independence, and we still hold on like hell. And the question is, with connection, it may be the opposite. It may be that we're always being asked to let go, or perhaps to hold on to something ineffable, something that is just always changing, something that is asking more of us and evolving through us, as us, and around us. So connection is kind of an instigator of things. It is not this static thing. It's not like, oh, I'm connected, I'm good now. No, it's this constant moment by moment invitation to re-engage, to be in your life, to ask those questions, to question the horse when you're the horse, to wonder about the guy when you're on the horse. And so heartbreak, difficulty, moments of just sheer stupefaction where perhaps you don't even know what question to ask. Those are glorious moments that can be honored and allowed to nurture, sustain us in our way forward. Culturally, I find sometimes we kind of rush through those. I know it hurts like hell, but pain will allow us to persevere, I believe. And pain can inform us, and asking those questions and being connected during that pain is what can bring us to truly manifest what we want in our next stage. I've found that for me personally, I've often, I have a great capacity to ignore. And so sometimes I'll find myself in a situation once again. And I'll say, gee, I wonder how I got here again. And just asking that question and doing so with what I believe is the third greatest tool, the third great gift of connection, which is through compassion, through kindness, through gentleness, that is what connection is always inviting of us. That when we connect to each other, we see in each other's eyes that spark of love and compassion and kindness. How can we invite that within our own relationship with ourselves, with our spirit, with our humanity? Perhaps it's easier to do with spirit, but when you're human, right? When you're lost your temper at the bagel shop because somebody cut you off or took $1 from the tip jar, where can you take a moment right then and there and just really deeply connect with compassion, kindness, and understanding, and say to yourself, we are truly indeed one. This reminds me a bit of one of the developmental stages of childhood too. There's at one stage when we're really young where what we see in our mother's face, we believe is our own experience too. If mother is unhappy or she's really angry, we become upset or really, we mirror exactly what happens. This mirroring tool is, psychologists say it is one of the foundations for us to empathize with each other. We learned this at a very young age. So when we experience these things, whether it's seeing it in someone else or in ourselves, we have a chance to either ask to find a mirror, someone to help you along the way, or to see that other person, that other experience as the mirror for ourselves. As Pema Chodron says, every moment is our teacher. Every interaction is our teacher. So whether good or bad, putting the judgment completely aside, connection is always asking of us, and our presence is always asking of us, how can we show up in the world? Can we be that compassion, that kindness, that unconditional love that is the mother energy that we all know and celebrate this day? How can we be that and keep being that for ourselves so that our cup runneth over, and for those around us so that we may sustain, support, and love each other? Those are my 3 little nuggets today. That's it. I really, really wanted to speak from the heart. I know I brought a lot of paperwork up here to act as perhaps my barrier or some sort of like moat around the speaker kind of a thing. But I challenged myself today, and I share that with you, to just speak from the heart and just be present with what came up and to just share with you. I do not believe that I am the only one that knows any of this. I'm probably a beginner on this journey with you. I'm probably a couple of steps back on the path. Yet nonetheless, I just want to really share and honor the wisdom that we have within each of us on this path, that we all get to practice compassion and kindness with each other, that humility and our ability to be there for each other is really what matters in this world. And that we can be anything and everything for each other in honoring our connection, that we can be the person on the side of the road watching and asking for ourselves and others, that we can be compassionate and kind amongst ourselves when we get lost and wound up on the horse. And then we can be the horse ourselves. And to practice that love and unconditional love, I should say, and compassion and love. And I keep saying it over and over. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Keep trying again. And so that overview mentality, what the astronauts see, that green-blue dot in the void, that can be us as well. We can see ourselves as this green-blue dot, this life in the void. It doesn't all need to make sense or be interconnected, but I think we all know deep down that it does. In some way makes sense that is beyond us, and that we are all interconnected in a way that is beyond us. And that is the great beauty and the paradox of connection. We are reaching out into the void. When you stop and think about what really moves you, maybe it's a piece of art, maybe it's a symphony, is it really graspable? No. But there is something within us that is deeply attuned, interconnected. So in our connection and in our understanding of connection, may we make room for the unknown, for the void, for everything that is in between, and just hold it in the grace and the capacity that we have for grace and love and togetherness. And so it is. Amen.